The Bolts bolster in the Big Apple.
The Jets sing the blues.
And the flame still burns out on the West Coast.
All that and more on this Monday night recap edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey there, hockey fans. Welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night that was in the NHL. We have got you covered 7 days a week, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Cam Stuart, Boston Bruins fan out in Chicagoland.
And I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Pittsburgh Penguins fan who actually played a little amateur hockey with Johnny Gibson back in the day. I'm currently loving life in Austin, Texas, and Cam, I can't wait to drop the puck with you tonight here on NHL Game Night, our very first show together. Pretty special.
It's been the butterflies all day. Of course, we had our esteemed colleagues, Shukri Wrights and Eddie Garcia, getting us started yesterday. But I'm thinking, Tyler, we might have even some more people tonight. This is like one of the best weeks of the year. It's just sports.
Cam, it's the absolute best. And you're probably right. This time of year is simply the best. Of course, we've got the Stanley Cup playoffs less than 2 weeks away. March Madness just wrapped up. So did White Lotus, for those of you watching. And hey, it also happens to be Masters Week in Augusta. I mean, who's got it better? So much to consume, Cam, so little time.
So much. And who's got it better than us? A good question, but I think at least 5 teams do, because 10 games tonight, that means 5 winners. Jets, Blues, 2 of the league's best battling off against each other north of the border, plus a pair of Canadian squads making the trips down to California, which they love any time of year. But first, let's drop the puck in the Big Apple. It was all Bolts in this one. The Lightning all over the Rangers in Madison Square Garden, dominate them 5-1 in a statement victory. Let's hear from our local expert, Josh Sperber, on how big this was for the Bolts.
That was a statement win for the Tampa Bay Lightning, already having clinched the postseason, thanks to the New York Rangers in part. The Lightning came into New York and took down the Rangers 5-1, the second time this season where the Lightning have beaten the Rangers by 4 goals, but have been outshot by 15 shots or more. 38 saves for Andre Vasilevsky, just 1 goal allowed on the power play. He has to be a Vezina Trophy candidate so far. Without question, he is the best goalie in the Eastern Conference. Connor Hellebuyck still has an argument, but Vasilevsky is my pick for Vezina, and this game against the Rangers shows it. A game the Lightning needed to win. They're now within 2 points of first place with their next game against the first-place team in the Atlantic Division, and Andre Vasilevsky helped get them there. But, of course, the offense had to factor into those 5 goals, 2 goals for Point, making his 3rd straight 40-goal season, and Nikita Kucherov joined Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, and Paul Coffey as one of only 4 players with 3 or more consecutive seasons of 80-plus assists. The Lightning could have a Vezina Trophy winner, a Hart Trophy winner, and or an Art Ross Trophy winner on their hands this season, and I am so excited to see what the rest of the year holds for the Bolts.
Boy, how about that stat of the night there by Josh? Kucherov joined by Coffey, Gretzky, and Bobby Orr. It's pretty good company. 4 straight years with 80-plus assists. And this was kind of a demolition, Tyler. It was 3 goals in under a 2-minute span in the first period. After the Rangers went out to an 11-1 edge in shots, there was no looking back after that. This is a team in the Rangers that looks like they might have just bowed out of this thing tonight.
Well, when you're on your home ice in the Big Apple and you give up 3 goals, all those shots in the first period, this time of year when you're fighting for a playoff spot, not a good look for the New York Rangers, and certainly the Tampa Bay Lightning on the other side, Cam. They look like a team that can definitely contend for yet another Stanley Cup. Vasilevsky, he was great down the stretch in net. And then when you have guys, that top line of Getzel, Point, and Kucherov, that is arguably, in my eyes, the best line in all of hockey right now. Healthy, playing really well. They had 3 goals tonight, 6 assists. And now Kucherov, with that 1 goal and 2 assists, he now has 115 points. He's tied with Nathan MacKinnon for the most points in the league. So you have the offensive power. You have the guy in net who is stonewalled this time of year. The Lightning could be a team to watch once the Stanley Cup playoffs roll around.
This feels like kind of same old Lightning from a couple of years ago that were winning the cups and went to the final 3 straight years. Like Vasilevsky, you mentioned him in there. He's back to like playoff Vasilevsky form.
And he dominates the Rangers. His last 2 games against the Rangers, 84 shots, 81 saves. He had 39 saves tonight on 40 shots. Something about playing New York and something about this time of year. That guy is dangerous and a guy that I wouldn't want to face in between the pipes.
Money, man. And that line is incredible. Somehow Jake Guentzel is still an underrated player in this league.
Former Penguin.
Well, yeah, a huge part of those teams as well. I mean, a huge part of putting together a championship team. I think you'd agree.
And he's just one of those guys that is not only an underrated player, but seemingly performs really well with high-level players on the same line. You look at what Guentzel did with Crosby all those years in Pittsburgh, and now he's doing the same thing with Kucherov and Point. So just different team, different jersey, same result for Jake Guentzel.
And that thing with the Rangers, I mean, for a team that won the President's Trophy last year to just continue to go into these games without a sense of urgency. And I mean, I know they have the shot totals. It's 11-1 before the floodgates open, but then the floodgates open and you're down 3-0 at the end of the first period.
On your home ice. Home ice.
Like there's no excuse when you're in win every game mode and I know Tampa's a better team, but like you said, you're playing at home. It's just got to be better than that. And
yet the Rangers, they weren't totally out of it. Zibanejad had a breakaway in that third period, and a shorthanded try was stuffed by Vasilevsky. Guy was better in net tonight. And the Rangers just didn't have enough spark. I saw a little bit of a spark early in the second period. But again, New York, this time of year when you're fighting for a playoff spot, it just seems like even though they're not eliminated from playoff contention just yet, it seems like they won't be making the playoffs in my eyes through that game tonight.
It certainly didn't look like it. And for somehow Montreal has more urgency as a team that has not been there than the team that won the President's Trophy last year. They've got a big one on Wednesday. They face the Flyers. Winnable game. You got to have it. And for Tampa, by the way, next one against Toronto. Toronto 8-1-1 in their last 10. They haven't been able to really gain ground on the Lightning. That's a huge one. That will be tomorrow night, Tuesday night. And that flows us into speaking of hot teams, there's no one hotter in the NHL going into tonight than the St. Louis Blues. 12 wins in a row. Franchise record, longest NHL winning streak of the season, I think comfortably in that respect. And they are a playoff team, but they kind of got the measuring stick tonight, right? Let's put you up against Winnipeg, best team in the league, probably going to win the President's Trophy. And it was a knockdown, drag out, 3-1 with an empty netter. I mean, it was 2 good teams really duking it out in a playoff style game. And this becomes a big win for the Jets. Well, although they're the best team in the league, they maybe don't get that respect all the time. So let's hear from Harrison Lee, our Locked On Jets expert, of what this meant for Winnipeg.
Stifling defense once again leads the Winnipeg Jets to glory. I'm Harrison Lee from Locked On Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg has just finished a 3-1 victory over St. Louis. And what a complete front-to-back game it was. The Jets gave St. Louis almost nothing to work with. The Blues on the 12-game win streak could not find the answer against a Jets team that was extraordinarily stingy and fighting for not only the President's Trophy, but also the chance to win the West. They can do both at the same time, but securing that seeding was crucial. And the Jets put on their absolute A-game against a very hot, very testy, very good Blues team. The Jets will have another chance to do this on Thursday against the Stars, but for one more night, the Jets remain ahead in the race, 5 points over the Stars for the Central. See you on a later episode this week. We'll have full recap coverage on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Jets, but see you then. Have a great night, and as always, go Jets go.
Big win for the Winnipeg Jets. A big win for your wallet, by the way, would be checking out Monarch Money, who sponsors today's episode. I want you to take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And Tyler, we talk about there are some detractors still for this Jets team, and I'm kind of one of them. It's just not a team you see very often. It's not loaded with stars. Obviously, Connor Hellebuyck's the best in the game at his position, but this looked like a team that could win, knock down, drag out playoff games the way they played.
And it's the consistency for me. It still looks like a team that, yeah, they haven't gotten it done in the playoffs. They've never won a Stanley Cup. But again, sometimes the Stanley Cup playoffs, it can be finicky. It can be funky. If you get hot at the right time, anything can happen. And for me, that's this Jets team. I see a lot of great play, great hockey. They had even strength goals. They have the play in net. And when you go up against a Blues team that was riding a 12-game winning streak and you're able to win 3-1, you're showing a lot to me on a Tuesday, on a Monday night that, we're here to compete come playoff time.
By the way, held St. Louis to a season low 15 shots.
Wow.
This is a team that has won 12 games in a row, and you hold them to 15 shots. That will play. That'll win you some games in the playoffs. Speaking of which, there are a couple teams out west that are battling for some of the final playoff spots out there. And speaking of the Winnipeg Jets, hot goalies that are keeping them in this. The Flames are still hanging around. We'll talk about that next, coming up on Locked On NHL Game Time. But first, let me ask you a question here. You ever look in your wallet and ask, where the heck did all my money go? I know that's the case for me all the time. Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, all of it, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. You stop just managing that wealth, but start actually building real wealth. It's super convenient too. Instead of juggling all those apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Back on Locked On NHL Game Night, Cam Stuart, Tyler Feldman here. As we head out west, the defending Western Conference champs, Edmonton Oilers, have a chance to clinch a playoff spot on this night. All they got to do is beat Anaheim in regulation and hope for a Calgary loss in regulation. Spoiler alert, neither of them happened. The Ducks hold on for a kind of surprise 3-2 victory against what has become a beleaguered Edmonton Oilers team. Let's hear from the Ducks side of things.
Oh my goodness. The Anaheim Ducks just beat the Edmonton Oilers 3-2, but the shot count was 49 for Edmonton to 21 for Anaheim. Lukáš Dostal was an absolute wall tonight. Thank God for the Dost wall, because that was absurd with how many shots Edmonton got tonight.
Dostal, man, standing on his head.
Dostal was a wall.
Dost Wall. Is that what he said? Dost Wall in there? I think that rolls right off the tongue.
It does. I mean, he was phenomenal. I mean, this is a young Ducks team and a depleted Oilers squad, and just the right recipe for Anaheim on their home ice tonight. They've been very good on their home ice. I think 13-6-1 in their last 20 home games. So they've been very strong at home.
And kind of all of a sudden, Edmonton now has the question of, are they going to have the horses for this playoff run? I know McDavid's been battling the injury a couple of weeks now. Draisaitl, quick comeback, quick cameo, banged up again. Bon Colson goes down in this game. Skinner's hurt. They got a kid. Olivier Rodrigue is making his first NHL start in this game tonight. The son of the Florida Panthers goalie coach. He's got his name on the cup.
And one other cool note from this game, Adam Henrique, he plays nearly 500 games with the Ducks. Now he's with the Oilers. He scores the first goal of the game. He scored 135 goals with the Ducks in his career. He had several different stints, but just a cool another story in the NHL where you get some of these journeymen throughout their careers. And for the Oilers, you'd like to think that they get healthy. I think McDavid's expected back soon as well. But all these injuries this time of year, that doesn't sit well with me, Cam.
I was going to say, real quick, very quick, one sentence, concern level for this Oilers team.
I'd give it a 7. I mean, there's just a lot of great hockey teams this year that are healthier than the Oilers. So maybe this is just that year where the Oilers are banged up and they can't do anything about it. We'll have to see.
And played a lot of games last year. People forget that. Oilers take on still probably the hottest team in the NHL, even though they're coming off a loss in the St. Louis Blues next. The Ducks will face Calgary, and Calgary needs to win every game basically that they've got on the schedule left. They took on the tanking San Jose Sharks at the SAP Center on this night, and it was not going well for them. They give up 18 shots in the first period. They're down 1-0. They're down 1-0 in the third, but they pull themselves up by the bootstraps. They hang on. They get the 3-2 victory. Let's hear from our Locked On Flames expert on what this meant for Calgary's playoff chances.
And the Calgary Flames complete the comeback against the San Jose Sharks. The Flames should not have had to come back from this game at all. In fact, they should have, I don't want to say dominated, but, I definitely held control of this game, and unfortunately they did not. It was a 1-0 game into the third period, and Martin Pospisil ended up going down with a right arm injury. Maybe looked like his wrist or his shoulder. It's hard to tell. He needed help getting off the ice. And then Adam Klapka immediately responds, followed by a Morgan Frost power play goal and Matty Coronado to seal the deal. What a game. Martin Pospisil did come back on the later in the third period. So, maybe it's not as bad as it looked, but we'll have to see as the Flames keep moving towards the playoffs.
Adam Klapka, man, first shift of the game. He ties the thing up in the third period. But Tyler, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't make it out to church as much as I used to, but I might be worshiping at the temple of Dustin Wolf, man. I am fully bought in. Like that team around him, that is not a playoff team. This team kind of stinks. He is keeping them alive.
Wolf was unbelievable. I was howling at some of the saves he was making, especially early on and late. 23 years old, Northern California native. My favorite part, his parents were season ticket holders for the San Jose Sharks growing up. So he grew up a Sharks fan, was making all these unbelievable saves. And that's just the kind of talent you see. That's a guy that the Pittsburgh Penguins could use in net. A young goalie who shifts really well, not really that big, kind of undersized for a goalie in this day and age, but he was spectacular. I mean, the young talent in this game was one of my biggest takeaways. You look at Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini for the Sharks. Those are two guys. They're leading. They're at the top of the list for rookie scoring this year. And Celebrini actually set a new Sharks franchise record for rookie assists in a single season, 35 now. So the young players in this game, really fun to watch. And these are two teams. I know the Sharks aren't making the playoffs. The Flames, 3 points back of the Wild now for that second wild card spot. But some really great young hockey players. I mean, everyone's talking about Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, and some of these elder statesmen. But the sport is in really good hands with some of these younger, talented guys as well.
Also out in California, LA has their playoff spot booked, but now they're chasing that division crown, or at least trying to hold off Edmonton and finally get home ice advantage in that series, as it looks like they're going to play the Oilers again in the first round.
What is that, 4 straight?
I think this will be 4 in a row.
4 in a row?
This will be 4 in a row, and I don't know if they've had home ice in any of them. But here they are. I mean, they just kept plugging away. They wait for Edmonton to make their mistakes, and they're sitting pretty right now. It was not their night on this night, though, as they take on another tanking team, the Seattle Kraken, and we get all the scoring in the first period of this one. Seattle takes it slim, 2-1. NHL Game Night host, Locked On Kings host, Eddie Garcia gives us the reaction from the Kings side.
The LA Kings did something they rarely have done this season, lose at home. I'm Eddie Garcia, host of Locked On LA Kings. The Kings grabbed an early 1-0 lead against the visiting Seattle Kraken on a unique one-handed goal by Quentin Byfield, his 20th of the season. But that was the only offense the Kings would get. Seattle scored twice in a span of 54 seconds late in the first period to take a 2-1 lead. Seattle dominated the second period, the Kings the third, yet no one scored. And that was it. The Kraken get a 2-1 victory. Kings goalie Darcy Kemper did his job and then some with 26 saves, many of them of the spectacular variety in the second period. Kemper, who's deserving of being a Vezina Trophy finalist, has allowed 2 or fewer goals in his last 14 starts, but didn't get the offensive support in this one. And the Kings suffered just their 5th regulation home loss of the season, just their 9th home loss of any kind. And here are the teams the Kings have lost to at home: the Blackhawks, Sabres, Penguins, Ducks, Canucks twice, Blues, and now Kraken. Only one of those teams is making the playoffs at St. Louis. So I guess the good news for the Kings is they won't face any non-playoff teams in the playoffs.
That's a pretty good point there. No non-playoff teams in the playoffs. That snaps a 4-game winning streak for LA, by the way.
I recognize that guy. You recognize that guy?
I've seen him before.
Yeah, Eddie Garcia, I've seen his work.
He keeps me updated on what
he
happens
does a
in the
nice
NHL
job.
on
He
game
does a
nights.
nice job.
Eddie is great. One of our absolute treasures on this channel. I mean, honestly, the only thing I have to say from this one, that couldn't buy field goal, man.
Jaw dropped.
It's
I mean, Eddie texted both of us and he said, "Did you see that?" And I said,
I didn't
yes,
even. I was going to say I didn't see it live, and he texts us this. He says he says one hand bat down and then one-handed goal. I'm like, what? How did this happen here?
You know, they say soccer's the beautiful game, but what it makes me love hockey so much is that any given night, I've never seen a goal like that. If you haven't seen the goal, get on social media, go on YouTube, check it out, because he basically manhandled Shane right in front of the net, number 51 for the Kraken, and that'll be a top play on SportsCenter. It was just unbelievable how he maneuvered his body on skates using one hand to basically deflect it with the blade of the stick. Incredible. One of those goals that I'll remember for quite a while, for sure.
It was cinema.
But
Absolutely.
the Kings lose, and the Oilers lost. So the Kings had an opportunity to inch a little bit closer, but they failed to do so.
But that's LA, man. They get their highlight, just in general, LA sports fans. They get the highlight. They don't necessarily need the win. Anyway.
Hey, if you say so. If you say so.
We have got our inaugural segment coming up of He Said What?
He said what?
I should just defer to you. With Tyler Feldman. It's coming up in a minute. But Tyler, before we get to break here, it was a sad day.
It was.
Hockey world. I know a lot of people tuning into the Flames broadcast saw this news. But losing one of their own from Hockey Night in Canada, Greg Millen, unfortunately, has left us. The tribute's going on all around the league tonight.
67 years old, longtime goaltender, longtime national analyst, Hockey Night in Canada, Sportsnet, spent a lot of times with the Flames as well. So many great tributes, and I think it goes to show you just how tight-knit the hockey community is and what makes the league so special, and certainly wishing his friends and family all the best, and knowing that his memory will be a blessing. But very sad day as well, somber night in the NHL despite all these great games we had.
4 kids he leaves behind also. It's tough one. It really kind of hit home. So certainly our thoughts and prayers with his family as well. Locked On NHL Game Night rolls on. We have got the inaugural segment of
He Said What?
Coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
Hey, did you just realize your business needed to hire someone yesterday? Do you find yourself wondering how you can find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. How do you think Locked On found myself and my guy Cam? How do you think they found us? How do you think? Think about it. That's what I'm saying. Speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Yeah, just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Of course, terms and conditions apply. As I bring back Cam Stuart into the fold, Cam, we've talked about all 5 games, less than 2 weeks until the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is the best postseason in my mind, in my eyes, in my heart, in my soul. We're inching closer. Some teams still have a little bit of work to do to see if they want to punch their ticket and clinch a spot in the postseason. But it is time for an inaugural segment on this second episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. It is He Said What? Okay, and I'm sure you're wondering at home, we've said that 4 times now, what in the world are we talking about?
Or can they just say it?
It's where we pick out the wackiest, craziest, possibly funniest hockey quote from the night and share why we think that is. And Cam, I've got to break the rules slightly just for tonight, just based on what happened over the weekend. We haven't talked about it. It was talked about ad nauseum yesterday, Sunday. Alexander Ovechkin, new scoring leader, breaking Gretzky's what I thought was unbreakable goal record, 895 goals. And again, this goes back to just how great a hockey community it is. Wayne Gretzky, he was so wholesome and supportive of Alex throughout this race and this chase, being there and then giving that speech on the ice on Long Island. And hey, Gretzky was crushing the speech. He was thanking everyone he needed to thank. He was sincere. But then he got a little bit lost maybe on some of the fans in the building. He tried to get cute and he tried to squeeze in a little appreciation for the referees, saying, quote, and the referees who do such a great job. Our sport is so hard. Trust me, I was down back in row a lot when I played, but these guys do an incredible job, end quote. When I heard that, I heard the boos, and the boos were showering. It was all silence and sincerity, and all the fans were just supportive of Wayne and what he was saying. And then he went to thank the refs, Cam, boos. And I started cracking up. I thought it was hilarious.
It was like you could feel it too, like because he's thanking everybody, and so the crowd's like ready just to hear the next name and clap. And then it's like the record scratches. It's like no boo, and this was clearly like Gary got in Wayne's ear before going out there, like, hey, it's a big day for the NHL. Maybe you talk up how good the Islanders are, how good that organization is. Maybe the referees, throw a bone to the referees.
And maybe thank the refs.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually, not to, but growing up in Pittsburgh, CJ Murray is a Pittsburgh guy, went to the same high school as me. Good friends, actually bumped into him at the airport once. But he's a NHL referee now, and he's doing the dang thing, and it's awesome to see. And yes, they have a very hard job. The puck moves so fast. The guys skate so fast. So I get it. But again, I love these moments. I know some people are like, classic Wayne. He just had to thank the referees. I'm all for it. I love how there's a random booing when no one thought there would be any booing for Alexander Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's what was thought to be an unbreakable record. And now, thanks to the second all-time leading scorer, the new second all-time leading scorer, Wayne Gretzky, which is just weird to say.
Scorer. Yeah.
We got to hear some boos. I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and it was funny.
It's like cracking a joke in a eulogy, like no one expected the boos to come out with Wayne Gretzky on the ice celebrating this unbreakable record. But
maybe it's like cracking one joke at a eulogy that was on point and then trying to extend it because you're feeling the crowd. Yeah. And then it's like, probably a little bit too far on that one.
You see the family give you some looks. Yeah. Something like that, which I would recommend not going too far on a joke in a eulogy.
But it's just crazy that Wayne said, what?
We needed to get that in one more time. That was the night that was in the NHL. 5 winners tonight. The playoff picture becoming just a little bit clearer.
Hey, also 5 losers. Don't forget the losers.
Also 5 losers.
Even the losers get lucky sometime.
Yeah, well, a broken clock is right twice a day. That's Tyler Feldman. I'm Cam Stuart. Thank you guys so much for making this your destination for all the NHL highlights and scores and storylines and the night that was in the National Hockey League. This has been Locked On NHL Game Night. For Tyler, I'm Cam. For everyone else here at the Locked On Podcast Network, thank you so much for making it your first listen today and every day. And we will have all the scores and news for you tomorrow night on Locked On NHL Game Night.